Welcome to Perspectives and Coffee.
Ethiopia! Welcome everyone, Perspectives and Coffee. Saron. We're pleased to have Saron with us today. And for those who don't know, Darrin, Adam, and Saron, we're going to be talking about Ethiopian coffee. So we've got three beautiful Ethiopian coffees in front of us here that we've brewed up. Compliments of Saron. She's going to be telling us her story, and we're going to be learning more about what it's like to get started when you're bringing coffees into a new market. And we want to hear why, what's the motivation, and what are some of the things we're learning along the journey. So besides tasting this beautiful, we have three natural coffees here. Yirgacheffe Co-Chair, this is a natural. Yirgacheffe Conga, natural dry process, and a Guji Hambella, natural dry process. So we've already had the washed coffees a couple of weeks ago, but this is a great opportunity to share the naturals and to hear more from Saron. So Saron, welcome. Would you say a little greeting and a few words here while we sip our coffees?
Yeah, I would love to introduce myself. Hi, Adam and Darrin. I first want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be part of this, and I'm very excited to share my journey. My name is Saron, and I was born and raised in Ethiopia, but I currently live in Atlanta. And I am the founder of Sarco. It is a company that imports green coffee beans from Ethiopia into the U.S. And we'll be importing our first couple of containers this year, so we're very excited for that.
Excellent. Sarco, S-A-R-C-O. We're going to put show notes and links down in the description, so standard YouTube practice. And I'm going to let Darrin actually carry this conversation. I'm just going to keep sipping coffees here. But we've got some questions for you. We want you to be able to share and talk to the worldwide YouTube audience that we have. So thanks so much, Saron.
Yeah, well, first off, thank you very much for making the time to do this and be with us and kind of explore Ethiopia and your passion project, and maybe give us a little bit of maybe what led you in, what was the reason that coffee became something that you wanted to explore as a career path and as something that's part of your heritage. So
I think for me, it's both cultural and personal. For the cultural aspect, me being raised in Ethiopia is such a huge part of our culture. It is embedded in the Ethiopian culture. We have traditional coffee ceremonies where family and friends come together. They roast fresh green coffee and they brew it. And it's more than just the drink, but it's about having relationship. It's about storytelling. It's about community. And growing up in that environment, I always kind of saw the coffee as a business, the potential in it, and not just for an individual in the industry, but for the country as a whole. I believe that there is an untapped potential, and especially because Ethiopia is the birthplace of coffee. So I believe that we can definitely utilize that and grow. But I do want to acknowledge that in the past few years, there has been a rapid growth in the industry. But I still believe that there's still room to grow, and that curiosity kind of always grew with me as I got older. But for the personal aspect, my father was actually born on a coffee farm in a region called Harar. It's in the eastern side of Ethiopia. And not just him being born there, but my grandmother worked on a coffee farm for years and years. So although I've never actually been to Harar, I've heard great stories about it. So I always saw coffee, I've always wanted to be in the coffee industry. And I remember growing up, I would always ask my dad. My dad's a businessman, so I'd always ask him, why don't you get into the coffee industry, or why don't you start exporting green coffee? And he would always tell me, it's because it's you who's going to start, or it's because it's your passion. And I really, honestly, looking back, I guess he was just planting a seed in my head and encouraging me to dream bigger. So yeah, those are the reasons why I'm very passionate about it. And yeah.
it's interesting to me because I know a number of people that they're in a generational experience with their families either were in coffee directly or worked in coffee either as exporters or working within the industry. And many of that generation are passing it on to the next younger generation. So I know mainly a lot of exporters and brokers that are exactly doing that. That they feel like it's either a legacy or it was always a passion. So I guess what do you think the younger generation feels it has to offer the world in terms of Ethiopian coffee?
Yeah, so there's just been a new trend where coffee is not just a commodity, but people are using it to tell their story. People are using it to connect with the rest of the world. I remember growing up, whenever we had the Ethiopian tradition, like the Ethiopian coffee ceremony, I would always wonder, like, where do these beans come from, or how do they get from farm to cup? But now it's different because we see a lot of transparency in the industry, and we kind of understand, like, okay, where it's coming from and the farms and the people behind it. So yeah, I definitely appreciate the new trend and the way things are going now.
Yeah.
Great.
Saron, a lot of people will talk about, depending on the country or the culture, like the old boys club, and traditional roles were often maybe that in one area or in coffee, the women might work more at the home and at the farm, and the men might go in for selling the coffee or doing the commercial transactions. And so there was this natural kind of gap between who was the seller, right? And who was going to market, who was starting the business. And so within kind of some of the change and this new generation, have you seen that? Has that been hard? Is that also just a motivation? What's kind of your perspective on that? And is that at all a part of your story, or have you seen that play out? I know that you're in the US, but you're much more cognizant of this, I'm sure, than I am, and that we would be.
Yeah, so definitely there's been like that, like traditional, I guess, like setting, but now it's like really different. We see like women that are farming, that are selling the coffees. Even when you go to expos, there are a lot of women that own businesses, like coffee businesses, and you don't really see a male dominance as much. Even for me, like I've been going to expos for years, and you can kind of see the change like year by year, which is great. And not just like in the US, but also back home. We see a lot of like women farmers or women owned coffee businesses that are thriving and are successful. So yeah, there's been a progress, but yeah, and I'm willing to be part of it, and I'm happy to be part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's awesome. I'm going to step aside and let you two carry on, but I am loving these 3 coffees. I'm so excited to get more of them. And I know that you're storing coffees up here in the Pacific Northwest at a woman-owned coffee warehouse as well, which is super cool. So we love the Costa Oro folks. I'll name drop them and refer them anytime. But I just wanted to say real quick on the coffees, this co-chair. So compared to the cupping, brewing is always different. We brewed 3 of our V60s. Getting a lot of cinnamon, kind of spicy notes mixed in with the fruit. The conga, like Darrin said, the Yirgacheffe conga is super kiwi, kind of bright tropical. And the Guji, it has like this beautiful harmony of that, like those tea bergamot aspects, but also like the fruity red fruit, ripe, juicy. All of them super clean. And I'm picky about clean coffees, so I love these. I approve of all 3, and can't wait to get some more of those in. I am going to say, too, that you're coming in as part of the story was from episode 2, people would have seen Saifa. And so I'll let you and Darrin talk about that and Saifa and some of those connections and some of these coffees that are coming. So I'm going to peace out, and thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you at the end. I'll sneak back in, okay?
All right. Thank you, Adam.
Thanks, Saron.
Yeah, on that note, with Saifa, can you talk a little bit about the partnership and working with someone that has, garnered a lot of really great reputation in other markets? Maybe a little bit about that relationship.
Yeah. So Safa is the reason why I basically entered the industry. Just to go a little bit back and just kind of like explain how I met him. He's been a longtime friends with my dad. He's been a longtime friend of my dad's, and I remember in the summer of 2021, I went back home from school, and my dad knew the passion that I had for coffee, so he decided to take me to Safe's lab in Addis, where I spent some of my summer time there. Although he wasn't really around that much that summer, his staff took me under their wings. They showed me how the whole coffee industry works, how to process coffee, how to export coffee, how they check their quality and stuff like that. So that was eye-opening for me. And that's kind of how I got introduced to you guys, or Adam. I met him through Seifa. But right now I'm working closely with Seifa. Seifa is someone that has been in the industry for years. He has really good quality coffee. He's been working with the Nordic region. That's kind of his, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things that my takeaway from speaking with him was that he is one of few people that I've met that is more interested in higher quality coffees and not the commercial proposition that I could sell 25 containers, and my sense is that he's interested in selling less volume but more high quality, and I think that fits really well within the North American market, which you are the distributor for the coffees in the U.S. market, and I think maybe you could speak to the clients that are approaching you, and is that consistent with the model of higher quality is of more interest to some of the buyers in the U.S. and to the focus that I think that you both are putting into it?
Yeah, so when I first met Seifa, or if anyone meets him and talks to him, he's always emphasizing about the quality of the coffee. In Ethiopia, a lot of people use coffee as they just see it as a business. So they don't mind selling commercial. They just want the money. But he's very particular about his coffees. He's very particular about the quality. And it's not about the volume, but it's about the quality. And we're kind of trying to implement that in the U.S. market as well. That's what he's been doing for years in the European market. But yeah, we're very focused on high quality coffee. And thankfully, this harvesting season in Ethiopia, we have some really, really great coffee. So with the whole market volatility, I think quality is something that our customers can really depend on.
Yeah. I think, and one of the things to note too, that in working with Rock, working with you, that we took a focus on bringing coffees to the West Coast, to the Northwest, so that is Costa Ora, and they do have warehousing in Seattle, here in Portland. So some of the we do have quite a few coffee roasters on the West Coast in terms of the more of the micro or the small to medium operators that are very interested in single origin, very interested in exploring certain specific origins, and Ethiopia is always of high in high demand. So I think that's an exciting opportunity for some of the colleagues that we all know out here, because we're based in the Portland area too. So were you working in any areas that were related to coffee, or is this a whole new adventure, I guess, in terms of your past and work that you've done prior?
Yeah, so I honestly, going back to my educational background, I did my undergraduate studies in finance and I minored in international business. But I decided to go straight to grad school because I was still trying to figure out what I want to do in life. So I went to grad school, but then when I did my graduate studies, I knew the passion that I had for coffee. I knew someday, along the line, I would always start a coffee business. So I decided to master in international business, but with a concentration in supply chain and logistics. And that's when I met Adam. That's when I decided to incorporate Sarco and start the business. So yeah, my background is mostly finance, but I did do my grad school in supply chain and logistics. And right now I am working for a nonprofit, but that's more of a financial work. But then side by side, I'm working on Sarco too. So yeah.
Well, I think that's a big advantage because as a former coffee buyer, the biggest hurdle that I experienced and the industry experiences is logistics. and having a strength in that is certainly an advantage, especially for smaller roasters that, you know, maybe aren't aware of how technical it is to get coffees landed, and, you know, booking vessels and all the things that kind of come with the business. It's a big part of the business, and it's an efficiency that, you know, or it's an opportunity for efficiency too. So I think that's interesting that really directly plugs into the work you're doing now. So what's your, I guess if you were looking at a year from now or 2 harvests from now, how do you envision the growth opportunities or where Sarco wants to go?
Yeah, so just to kind of like add to what you were saying, my strength in supply chain and Safe's strength in quality, I think works perfectly together. If we can get a sustainable but quality, consistent coffee into the U.S., I think it would be like perfect, and that's what we're working towards. So in the next 2-3 years, I guess we want to expand not just in the northwestern part of the U.S., but also in I guess in the southeastern where I'm at, but all over the U.S. And also, yeah, and I honestly, like, I don't want Sarco just to be about importing green coffee beans, although like that is our priority, quality is our priority. But I want it to be about connection, because coffee is about connection. So yeah, I want to help connect Ethiopia with the rest of the world, and I want to utilize coffee in that aspect, I guess. So yeah,
Sure.
that's where I see myself. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting about that is that I've done project work where we're buying coffees in the past in Ethiopia, let's say, but then we would do projects with, there was an organization called Girls Gotta Run that's based in Ethiopia, and there would be funding to help supply just basic needs for school books, tuitions, and so a company can drive social projects within a country where they're working, and I think that's almost an expectation now that coffee roasters are aware, or hopefully funding or supporting those types of projects that are more socially oriented and kind of a give back. And I think it's a great model. I think it gives companies an opportunity to get closer, kind of to that point, like you talked about, community and really raising awareness, like, you know, what is going on in Ethiopia, you know, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities to grow, you know, not only a supply chain, but to grow communities that are connected to supply chains, because as we know, Ethiopia contains a lot of smallholders. The majority of the producers are smallholders. So that's something that I think maybe the U.S. market and other markets aren't really fully aware of, how small, you know, 1 to 2 hectare size producers, and so collectively working with growers and being connected directly to growers, I think is a strong opportunity for Sarco to tell the story, you know. And so I will tell you that we've had a couple community cuppings here over the last 3 weeks, and your coffees have been featured pretty prominently because we've had, you know, a lot of coffees to sample and go through, and the level of interest and excitement about your coffees, you know, kind of speaks for itself. And so can you give me some insight as to how and why you think that is the case in terms of, you know, just from a quality perspective?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we had a great season in Ethiopia, a great harvesting season. So that played a huge factor in the quality of the coffee. But also, Saif has been in the industry for years and years. And he kind of knows, like, where to get his coffee from. So working closely with him and just making sure that the coffee that he's sending isn't just a commercial, or isn't just a regular coffee, but upholds the standard and is truly indeed specialty is very important. So.
And the reason why I bring that up is I made a comment to Adam when we cup these coffees, the naturals, that even the green coffee and looking at the coffee itself and then certainly tasting them, they have such clarity and cleanness, like Adam's saying, that it defies what people, I think, historically think natural coffees from Ethiopia taste like. They're so clean and have elements of acidity and certainly a lot of the berry fruit and some of the more traditional like apricot and things like that. But to me, it's kind of redefining what people actually think natural coffees taste like. Now, when you think about Harar and other coffees that come from a totally different terroir, a totally different area, they do have more herbal, kind of more tobacco-y, heavier notes. But these three all have this nuance and this character, and to me, that means a lot of picking really ripe cherries, certainly processing the coffees properly, drying them properly, and drying them in a way that is improving the overall quality. And my sense is that comes out in the cup, and that always is the final kind of decision maker. It's like these are uniquely different natural coffees from what I've tasted in the past. So I think that's an exciting thing just to share with the audience, but I think it's also something that is a selling point for people to understand that you have to kind of rethink what you think coffees, the stereotype of those coffees that you think are that should taste like this, but they're different, and that's an opportunity to.
This year we're bringing in like both washed and natural coffees. We have coffees from the Guji region, the Sidamo region, and Yerga Cafe. The ones that you tried is, I think, the natural ones. So we have Guji Hambala, Yerga Cafe Konga, and Yerga Cafe Kochari.
Yeah.
Then the first, I guess like the washed coffees are from Guji Hambala, Guji Shakiso, and Sidama. And they're really great coffees. As you mentioned, they're really clean, good quality. And yeah, we're very excited to bring this into the US and kind of get like our customer feedback.
Yeah. I mean, many of these are really famous areas that at least, buyers that are discriminating buyers of high quality talk about Guji and Shakiso. And then even looking at recent history with competitions like Cup of Excellence, we saw a lot of coffees from Hambala and coffees from Jima that were doing quite well too. So Oraga, these are all names that are starting to come up, but most of them are associated with pretty high altitude, very high altitude coffees like Shakiso and Guji. And so I've been fortunate enough to be in most of those growing areas, and I was always attracted to Shakiso and Guji, especially the Guji areas. So yeah, I think it's good for people to kind of know the expanse of where you're working and why you're concentrating in those areas. So that's exciting. And what about like your favorites? I mean, do you have a favorite coffee that you kind of go to as your?
Yeah, but like we're not bringing those in, but the coffees from the Harar region are pretty good. They have one of the best naturally processed coffees in Ethiopia. They're very strong. And yeah, I guess like coffees from Harar, but we haven't started bringing those in yet. But hopefully one day, yeah.
Yeah.
And the supply is very low for Harar coffees. I don't know why, but yeah.
I think over the years they have seen diminished amounts, and it could be a number of reasons. I think climate might be a little bit of a reason in terms of rainfall and other competing issues that cot I think has been an issue too. So at least in the eastern part, but I've never been there either. I've always wanted to go there, and there's a famous exporter, Oxide, who had the Harar horse coffees that were well known in the U.S. and one very different, very unique coffees from that area. So I enjoy those coffees too quite a lot. And some of the Western coffees too, outside of Jima and west of there. So what other, I guess maybe off topic, what other things do you enjoy doing in your off time? Or, what other kinds of, whether hobbies or things that you enjoy?
So what do I enjoy? Well, I love watching soccer. I
Oh,
guess.
yeah.
My brother used to play when he was younger, and I guess like our household is like a big Man United fan.
Oh, okay.
So we watch the Premier League, and yeah, we love watching soccer. But now that I moved here, not so much. I love spending time with the Ethiopian community, my friends.
Yeah. No, I'm a soccer fan too. I'm a big World Cup fan. I always get excited about
Yeah.
those types of things. So, how great.
I think the World Cup is actually coming to Atlanta.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's very exciting. Hopefully we get tickets for that. But yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be. We have some events in the Seattle area and also Vancouver. There are going to be multiple spots for the 2026 World Cup. So, that's now I don't have to get up at 5 a.m. to watch because of the last couple World Cups were very early our time. So this will be very exciting. We're very excited for the U.S. to have the opportunity. So Adam's back.
Yeah, I heard you talking about fun stuff, and you're not boring. You're just serious and hardworking, and we love to have serious, hardworking friends also. So, I just pulled out your very fun and beautiful sample boxes that you sent up here. So, we're using the right EcoTact, and Darrin can comment on these. He was marveling at how clean the green also is. He was like, these look like washed coffees. These don't look like natural coffees.
They're pretty clean, yeah.
Very. And even like the silver skin, and however the milling was done, there's not a lot of like silver skin attached, and the green color, the uniformity, just very, and even just smelling the green coffee too, which all those kind of inform you about what you think you're going to taste. But beautiful packaging, lots of information about.
Yirgacheffe Kongas are really large bean, and all of these are. And I think that's hard too. The consistency of the size is nice. If I'm getting a G1, which all of these are G1s, I want to have a really consistent bean, so that as a roaster. Sorry, my camera is blocking it out. As a roaster, I'm going to have a much more consistent roast. But yeah, we do have a few more. We have some more washed coffee. So we had a Guji washed Shikizo. That was my favorite. Yep. We had the Hambela Guji, and then we had a Sadama. And so, just kind of some action notes. I've been anxious to get Cyphus coffees in the U.S. since 2019, so it's only taken 5 years, but thank you for helping us get distribution in the U.S. So excited to share these samples, and I think you're planning on coming out to Portland first weekend of April. We're going to have an Ethiopia cupping, so this might be a call out to the world. Come join us in Portland if you want to fly in, if you want to drive in, wherever you are. What was that, April 5th? I don't have my calendar in front of me. Saturday, we're going to do a cupping. We're going to have your coffees, and we might have some other coffees. We're going to talk about Ethiopia, and you can help us appreciate the culture even more. That's part of your message, right?
And if you guys are in the Portland, Seattle area, if you guys do want to come, you're more than welcome to come and cup with us the first week of April. So, yeah.
Yeah. Roasters, buyers, friends of Ethiopia, friends of rock, and SCA training. Darrin and I don't know if we really disclose this, but there is a conflict of interest here. We are advising you, and it's been a joy to advise you through calls, emails, helping you come to market. We're thrilled about these coffees, and we'd love to help more great companies like Sarco, because there's a whole new generation of cafes and roasters, and they're excited for a whole new generation of coffee. So thanks for bringing that to us, Saron.
Thank you, Adam and Darrin,
Yep,
for being
yep.
part of my team, and I really appreciate it.
What's your favorite way to connect? We're going to share some of your links down below and in the show notes. What's the best way to reach out? They can reach out to us. We'll make sure they get in touch with you. And what's some of your best contact?
The best way to contact me is through our website. It's www.sarco and then co, just like Sarco and then short for coffee.com. And yeah, you guys can just shoot me an email and I'll be sure to respond. So yeah.
Great. Sarcoco.com. And yeah, we'll be sharing more of these coffees. They are you're getting samples in the US, and we're at least ordering a couple containers. You are at least ordering a couple containers. And so the Ethiopian coffee harvest is beautiful this year. We're already noting, compared to other years when there have been seasonal or weather challenges, I think the coffees this year are going to be gorgeous. I know people are concerned about pricing, but if we've learned anything over the last few years of inflation, prices don't come down. They only stay or go up. And so locking in the best coffees today at these prices is going to be so much better than waiting a few months and getting the less best coffees for the same price. So that's kind of the encouragement that we're giving all of these roaster buyers right now is if you buy now, you're going to get the best coffees at this price. If you buy later, you're going to get coffees you don't love as much for the same price. And I think a lot of them have expressed like they've seen that before. So, all right, well, let's wrap this up and can't wait to see you in Portland. First weekend there, we'll be sharing that as well in YouTube or in the newsletter. So thank you, Saron. We appreciate your work.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys so much. All right, bye.
All right.
All right, take
bye.
care. Bye.
The ice.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so you ready? You're just going to pick it up right after me.
Okay.
Do you want to do Ethiopia? Like Ethiopia? Or?
We'll do it like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Just have fun.
Ethiopia.
Okay, let's do it faster.
We paused too long. Okay.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Perspectives in Coffee.
Ethiopia.
Ethiopia.